Welcome to this week's Car-Pinionated, our weekly show about cars, the car industry, and driving in general. We have a special guest today, Mr. Jim Altman.
Hi.
Fox 61 reporter.
Still here.
Still here after all these years.
20 years.
Yeah, yeah.
But my first time after all these years on Car-Pinionated. So look, we can all aspire to something, Doug.
Right. And friend of the show.
No doubt.
You give me good feedback.
Yeah, and I like watching.
Thank you.
Because I'm one of those car guys, so here we are.
He is. So we went on an adventure last week.
We definitely did.
Yeah.
And it's, I probably do 250 stories a year, right? Add that up over the years.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those stories, and you're going to be like, I'm never forgetting this. It's why my job's interesting. I'm never forgetting that day in Springfield.
Yeah.
And to go over the border, that's saying something. It's clearly the editorial content warranted us crossing the border. You got your Big E, and then you got something like this. Right. That's why you go to Springfield.
Right.
No offense, Springfield, but
Yeah. So we should show the story.
Oh, let's show the story.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because of Doug. He found it. 33 feet long, 8 feet wide, 11 feet high. Chrome, steel, and curb appeal has a different feel in Springfield.
This is a 1939 GMC Futurliner. They built 12 of them, basically for technology circuits. So we'll go town to town.
A ride back in time has just been sold.
Cars stop, they take pictures, they pull over.
The Peter Pan bus lines bought the Futurliner in 1997. GM John Seeplick and his team spent years restoring it. He calls this rolling history.
We owned it for 25 years. We built the thing from the ground up. Finishing something like this to bring it from what was basically a rust bucket to something that looks like this is just incredible.
Art Deco and overdrive. The Futurliner was a symbol of American ingenuity.
The General Motors Parade of Progress.
Part of what was called GM's Parade of Progress.
The import of what these vehicles did in that time period in the early 40s, the mid 50s, was they brought technology to the heartland. It brought information, it brought technology to places that weren't actually able to see it. They didn't hit big cities, they went to small towns.
The Futurliner literally does stop traffic. How rare is it? There are only 7 left in the world.
One like this one sold at Barrett-Jackson for almost $4 million.
It will soon leave the lot. Peter Pan Bus Line sold it on Monday to auto historians, the Caretakers Collection out of Los Angeles. And down the road, the hope is it will find a home in a museum.
Curb appeal, and it turns heads, there's no doubt about it. It's a unique piece of history for sure.
In Springfield, Jim Altman, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
So this is a pretty big deal. I roped you into it. I sent you an email. It wasn't like I had to convince you.
You did not have to convince me.
Yeah.
I was happy to do it.
Yeah. This has been something I've been aware of for years, and I knew there was in Springfield. The Futurliner was up there, and fortunately they gave us carte blanche almost to come up and look at it and drive it.
And drive it, which was key, because it had been sold. By the time we got up there,
Right.
it had been sold for a lot of money. But I thought that was great. I mean, you see that thing coming down the road, and it literally, we said it in the story, it stops traffic. It actually stops traffic.
Mm-hmm.
You can't believe, and to me, it was interesting, Doug, because I interviewed Doug as sort of the historian on all of this, right? But the historic precedent for this at the time was revolutionary and was sort of about American might from a engineering standpoint. And just, it is a powerful statement on the road, and I think it transcends just the road.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to so many other facets of our of our lives, or their lives in the 40s and the 50s.
Right.
It was built to make a statement, and I think it made a statement.
Yeah.
And it still does.
Right. And you can imagine like seeing a dozen of these things roll into a small town, in, the Midwest, and, the American might,
I was just going to say, you're going to give us that newsreel guy voice.
Yeah.
And it screams to you. The newsreel screams to you because that's what you'd expect. And the fact that we got to show some of the newsreel and sort of juxtapose that with what the vehicle looks like today and the old photos of them fixing it, it was spectacular.
And when we drove in the parking lot, because you and I drove up together.
Yes.
When we drove in the parking lot, what was your first impression? I'll tell you mine, but I want to see what your first impression was.
Oh, that's it. Because we had driven by Peter Pan, and I saw another bus in the lot. It was an old bus, and I thought it was something different. And then when we drove in the lot, I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
This is going to be good. You step back for a second, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is I can make this work. I have to be on the air at 5:00, and this is going to work. We were happy when we saw it.
My first impression was it was smaller than I thought it was going to be. It's got height. It's 11 feet tall.
Right.
It's not very wide. It's only 8 feet wide.
Right.
But there was another coach that was nearby it seemed larger.
Yeah.
But the the red, the chrome, the Art Deco design, it says something. This is General Motors at its best.
Yeah,
right?
We had talked about that. I thought, it reminded me of Tucker.
Yes.
Right, with with all the Art Deco that they had in that movie back in the day. Look it up. The vehicle makes a statement. Yes, smaller, only has 3 seats in real life. There's a seat in the front where you can drive. No air conditioning, by the way. It was like 96 that day. And there's 2 little seats in the back. But the bus part of it, there's no real bus.
Right.
Right? It's
right.
Or van, or essentially those were stages, right?
Yes. Some of them were designed to carry equipment from place to place. Some of them were designed as exhibits, and some of them were designed as stages.
Yeah.
And so what Peter Pan has used this one for, is some sort of stage, it looks like, to do presentations. We don't know what they originally had in it, but like there was one that was mocked up with a jet engine at some point or another. But each of these things had a specific purpose in mind. That they would go, and then it would bring them around to an open area in a town and park them in a specific area and build a big tent and then do the show. They'd be there for several days.
And it was interesting, Doug, because you mentioned in the story, these didn't come to the New Yorks and the Los Angeleses of the world. They didn't really need to go to Chicago. We're talking about Topeka.
Mm-hmm.
Springfield. Any Springfield. Right? I mean, they went to smaller towns where people were exposed to something perhaps they'd never seen before.
Right. And at a time when, the first tour was in 36 to 39. And then the tour with these vehicles was like 40 and on. So it was a matter of like these are places that didn't have a lot of infrastructure around them, and it was also bringing hope to people in the middle of the Depression.
Right. It was a symbol of success, of strength, of I guess ingenuity again. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on Car-Pinionated.
Yeah, Car-Pinionated. We're going to do a story on I'm getting my new car tomorrow, Doug.
Oh, excellent.
That could be another episode.
Yeah. Do you want to mention?
No, I don't. No.
Jimmy always.
I don't want to jinx it.
Okay.
But I'm supposed to get it tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm supposed to.
Okay.
And we love us some nice cars, Doug and I. So.
Yes, we do. We've had plenty of time talking about some very nice vehicles, many of which you've owned. All right.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, that's it for this week's Car-Pinionated. Remember to like us and subscribe on YouTube. If you have a car that you think is interesting, give me an email at dstewart@fox61.com, and we'll see you next week.